Ukraine's $5 billion strike breaks Moscow's defenses. Missile division collapses in hours. Today, Ukraine conducts a single, coordinated campaign that pierces Moscow's air shield, cripples its fuel network, smashes a missile division, and fractures the Black Sea Fleet, inflicting about $5 billion in Russian losses across warships, grounded aircraft, missile hubs, and fuel depots. The operation follows one strategic thread: blind Russian defenses, isolate their supply lines, then strike the command systems that enable them to fight. To understand how this unfolded, the story begins the moment Ukraine forced Moscow's protective network to blink. At 2:17 a.m., inside Kyiv's concealed airfields, the night held a tense stillness. Without warning, long-range Ukrainian UAVs costing between $20,000 and $50,000 each lifted into the darkness. Seconds later, $160,000 HIMARS rockets and $1.2 million Storm Shadow missiles fired in a coordinated pattern. This was not a single strike, but a layered opening salvo aimed at Russia's Belgorod buffer zone, the outermost shell guarding Moscow. Within 9 seconds, Russian air defense operators were in crisis. As radar crews scrambled, Ukrainian drones dropped below 150 feet, hugging tree lines and riverbeds as they crossed the border. At the same moment, $1 million ATACMS missiles locked onto Russian radar stations near Belgorod. Ukrainian sources claimed that within seconds, early warning arrays were wiped out in a series of violent flashes. With the radar curtain torn open, Ukrainian ground forces surged forward. 6 Leopard 2 tanks, each valued at roughly $10 million, advanced beside $8.5 million Challenger 2S, pushing through broken fences at over 40 miles per hour. Their 120mm cannons struck bunkers and fuel trucks. One Leopard round detonated a Russian command post so intensely that the fireball illuminated the countryside. Behind the armor, Ukrainian motorized infantry moved under a haze of dust and flame, planting $500 anti-tank mines in key choke points. When Russian T-72 tanks attempted a counter-push, the lead vehicle triggered a mine and halted the formation. Moments later, NLAW and Javelin teams ambushed from both flanks. By morning, Belgorod's rail yard burned in columns of black smoke. A breach had been secured, and Ukraine now held the opening corridor toward Moscow. With Belgorod's defenses collapsing, Ukrainian forces expanded the operation. Hours later, Ukrainian Su-27 and MiG-29 fighters climbed to 20,000 feet over Voronezh, a vital industrial hub feeding Moscow's southern supply routes. Under their wings hung free-fall bombs equipped with GPS-guided JDAM kits. Flying low and fast through radar gaps, they released their payloads onto Voronezh's primary fuel depot. Massive mushroom clouds surged upward, and shockwaves shattered windows across nearby districts. A second logistics artery feeding Moscow was severed. Russia attempted to strike back from the sea. A Kilo-class submarine fired Kaliber cruise missiles, each costing more than $1 million, toward Ukrainian positions. The missiles flew just below the speed of sound, carrying 1,000-pound warheads designed to tear through hardened structures. But Ukraine's Patriot PAC-3 systems were ready. Interceptors, costing around $4 million, each streaked skyward at Mach 4, destroying most of the incoming missiles. One Kaliber struck a bridge, but the Ukrainian advance continued uninterrupted. On the ground, the battle shifted to Russia's supply routes. Dozens of Ukrainian FPV drones, each worth less than $3,000, raced down the M4 highway like precision-guided insects. They hunted fuel convoys, ammo trucks, and troop carriers. Dashcam footage later revealed a Russian supply truck rounding a bend before disappearing in fire. A BTR armored personnel carrier swerved to evade drones, only to be struck from above and left burning. Within 6 hours, Voronezh was cut off, and Moscow's main southern supply artery was severed. As the fires in Voronezh burned into the night, the Kremlin launched a second retaliation. At 3:42 a.m., another Kilo-class submarine released a fresh salvo of Kaliber missiles toward Kyiv. But again, Ukraine's air defense network absorbed the strike. Patriot PAC-3 units intercepted the majority mid-air, scattering debris over empty fields. Russia's attempt to destabilize the offensive failed. Next came a surface fleet escalation. Russian frigates in the Black Sea launched P-800 Onyx missiles, each racing across the waves at nearly 2,700 miles per hour. Their low flight paths were meant to defeat radar detection. But Ukraine had prepared for this axis months earlier. Naval drones, low silhouette, explosive-packed craft, shot from concealed bays at 50 knots, weaving through bursts of tracer fire. Simultaneously, Neptune anti-ship missiles launched inland and homed in on Russian vessels. The Russian formation fractured instantly. One frigate swerved violently and collided with another, just as a Neptune missile slammed into its hull. A naval drone struck a corvette's stern and detonated, sending water and flame skyward. By dawn, smoke stained the horizon. Russia's naval retaliation had failed, and Ukraine now held the tactical initiative. Ukraine used the chaos to shift the fight inland again. At 4:28 a.m., waves of long-range drones crossed deep into Russia, flying at barely 200 feet and carrying up to 100 pounds of explosives. Their routes followed forests, riverbeds, and roads, routes too quiet and too low for radar. Simultaneously, Storm Shadow missiles surged toward airbases near Tula, around 100 miles south of Moscow. Hardened aircraft shelters cracked open as explosions tore through fuel reserves and runways. Several Russian aircraft, Su-24S, Su-25S, and MiG-29S, were destroyed on the ground, contributing to the aircraft losses tallied later in the campaign. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Special Operations Forces infiltrated communication nodes near Tula. At 5:12 a.m., synchronized charges detonated along fiber optic lines, severing Russia's military communication backbone. Entire sectors fell into silence. For a critical window, Russia was blind. As Russia scrambled to restore communications, Ukrainian drones pushed north. By 5:41 a.m., Moscow's skyline flickered with air defense fire. Pantsir systems on rooftops fired volleys of tracers, while S-400 launchers sent missiles streaking skyward. Some drones fell, others slipped through. One struck a southern fuel depot, triggering a fireball. Another smashed into a Moscow city skyscraper, showering glass onto the streets below. MiG-31S and Su-35S scrambled, but coordination failures left them circling without clear targets. As dawn rose over Moscow, residents posted videos of fireballs and tracer arcs. The Kremlin's claim that all drones had been intercepted collapsed under viral evidence. For Russia's elite, the psychological impact was immediate, undermining earlier assurances of invulnerability. Analysts later estimated that Russia's total losses during this entire operation reached $5 billion. Approximately $1.2 billion in depots, rail hubs, armored vehicles, and radar systems were destroyed across Belgorod and Voronezh. Another $1.5 billion in naval assets burned or sank in the Black Sea. Roughly $1 billion in missiles, aircraft on the ground, and air defense systems were lost around Moscow. Finally, around $1.3 billion in hardened infrastructure, most notably at the Jazinski Missile Division and the Podolsk Fuel Complex, was eliminated. But the campaign was not over. Russia launched a large missile barrage near the Jazinski Missile Division. The forest rim smoldered as Ukraine countered. Recon and strike UAVs shot forward at 120 miles per hour, mapping launch sites for Patriot PAC-3 units, M270 rocket batteries positioned 20 miles behind the lines. Interceptors destroyed incoming missiles in quick succession. M270 salvos hammered Russian rocket pads before crews could reload. Overhead, Su-30 SM fighters released jamming pods to block MiG-31 interceptions. When Russian rocket fire subsided, Ukraine advanced its next layer. Autonomous attack robots, each weighing close to 20 tons and moving near 15 miles per hour, entered dense minefields. Hydraulic cutters tore through barbed wire and detonated buried charges. Behind them, BMP-2 and BMP-3 vehicles surged into cleared corridors, their 30mm cannons carved into bunkers along the tree line. Overhead, loitering munitions accelerated to 250 miles per hour, targeting Kornet teams and Pantsir radars. With the perimeter collapsing, Ukrainian armor encircled the missile compound. The battle then moved underground. Russia deployed elite defenders trained for close-quarters tunnel combat. Ukraine countered with compact reconnaissance robots and FPV drones, mapping booby traps and firing points ahead of each squad. Assault teams moved in tight formations, using flashbangs and suppressive bursts to secure key nodes without destroying critical equipment. Electronic jammers prevented Russian demolition charges from triggering, allowing Ukraine to seize communication rooms, consoles, and guidance stations intact. Above ground, tanks sealed exits. Below, engineers marked cleared tunnels with paint and glow sticks. By dusk, Ukrainian flags hung over multiple underground nodes, once considered impenetrable. The final strike came when mapped coordinates were delivered to artillery positioned 25 miles away. Precision missiles tore through reinforced walls, collapsing command posts and destroying buried ammunition stores. Russian defenders, isolated and without communication, surrendered or retreated. Ukrainian troops escorted wounded Russians to safe zones, demonstrating restraint amid destruction. The campaign culminated at the Podolsk fuel complex. Engineers shut down pumps and disabled regulators as drones identified fuel convoys parked in loading bays. Shoulder-fired rockets neutralized them with the controlled blasts. Within minutes, more than a dozen carriers were disabled, severing a critical fuel artery to Moscow. Russia's final counter came from electronic warfare units. Jammers positioned 68 miles away, scrambled drone telemetry, and disrupted MiG-29 data links. At the same moment, Su-34 bombers dove from 20,000 feet to strike Ukrainian positions, but S-300 batteries fired interceptors that forced the jets to retreat, while MiG-29 fighters executed radar-guided missile passes to push them away. Kamikaze drones homed in on the jammers' emissions and destroyed them, restoring control channels. By the end, Russia had lost approximately $5 billion in ships, aircraft, missiles, and hardened infrastructure. Ukraine had pierced every layer of Russia's defenses, on land, in the air, underground, and across the sea. And as smoke drifted over shattered bunkers, one question lingered across the strategic landscape. If Moscow itself can be reached, can any fortress still claim safety? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more videos like this.